Maybe things could have been different for me if I was in one of our larger embassies or consulates, but I wasn't. And I think that the path was laid for what I'm doing right now.
We do got the cousin Don listening. Shout out to Don, man. So just to be clear, did somebody say something to you, or did you just up and leave and were like, man, I'm just done with this gig?
Well, I'm wondering if cousin Don is saying, did someone in the job tell me this wasn't for me? Or if he means if someone aspirational outside of the job inspired me. But no, the reality is I was so good at what I was doing other people's work. So nobody was necessarily saying, you're not good at this or this isn't for you. They just wanted me to conform my attitude to and my mindset and my spirit to how they want people in an organization to be. But my work and everything was just fine. I say in a lot of cases, especially in my first assignment, the work was really compelling. There's actually been a lack of there's been a lack of mentorship and guidance, and I would say in a lot of stuff that I do, where I just decide I'm going to do it because of what I found out and my own detachment from reality, and I create my own reality. I just went for it.
And so being in that type of career, like you said, a lot of advantages, and ultimately you realized that wasn't going to work for you, and you tried some other things. I'm curious, like, what were maybe one or two of the biggest just takeaways that have stuck with you since your experience in the Foreign Service?
I think one of the biggest takeaways is that not everything is for everybody. I have good friends that the Foreign Service is perfect for them. Their mindset and their disposition is perfect for the Foreign Service, and they're not bad people. Now, there are other people that's just not going to work for them. They have to be doing something else. So that's one thing, is not everything is for everybody, and that's okay. Another is that institutions change people. So if you're a person and you think, oh, I'm going to join this institution because I want to change it from the inside out, or I want to make impactful changes. People don't change institutions. The institutions change the people. No matter where you're going, you have to be prepared. Yeah, you might have your own ideas. You might have leadership that's supporting you. But ultimately, your goals are going to be diluted in some form or fashion, because that is the point of an institution, and going to work every day and having multiple levels of supervision, sometimes having no supervision. You're not necessarily meant to create wide sweeping, impactful change at institutions. They're more so there to promote the status quo, and in whatever industry it is, with maybe some incremental improvements here or there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So you had that time in the Foreign Service before you eventually signed up for that real estate class. What were some of the other, like you mentioned some, but like you tried, like ultimately why real estate over those other situations? Like why ultimately did you go all in on real estate?
So real estate was checking a lot of boxes. So at the time, we were living in Amsterdam. That was also simultaneously like this rise in anti-globalism. The former president was coming into power. He was galvanizing a lot of support for his ideas. We were also simultaneously wondering, like, where are we going to invest? Where are we going to invest in the community? Which I do believe back then, investing in real estate is investing in a community, and it's investing in yourself and your family and your friends and your community. So we were also contemplating that. And every time that I looked online about houses and different areas to settle in, Durham and North Carolina in general was topping these accolade lists. So it just all kind of came together. Like, I'm looking for real estate to buy. I'm looking for somewhere to go after this career. I'm looking to start my own business and have more autonomy over how I comport myself and my ideas. I'm looking to make more money than I was making as well. So it checked a lot of boxes.
We did leave Amsterdam and come back to Durham. And what I know about you is you are a doer. in that you are definitely driven to get things done. Before we even left Amsterdam, you also had already signed up for the real estate class, so you could. I think we touched down on a Friday, and by that Monday, you started class, if I remember correct. So we didn't even have like time
Correct.
off upon transitioning, right?
Yeah.
In taking that class, you were able to successfully get through that on your first go around, but you weren't doing it full time. Can you revisit that time period and just talk about, like, for anyone listening who might be thinking about that exam or going through it right now, like what were some of the key things that helped you get through that successfully your first go around?
Well, I just want to say too, I've always had an incredible sense of urgency. I feel like I had to make up for lost time. I wish that someone had told me to get a 4-year degree in business or economics and go straight into real estate. And then maybe if I wanted to get an MBA or something, I could have that option. So I felt like I really needed to make up for lost time in terms of being an entrepreneur, getting ideas out there, disrupting the industry. I did try to get a full-time job. You encouraged me to get a full-time job and not just go into real estate full-time, but to like dip my toe in by having some steady income. But I didn't get a full-time job until months later, and it was simultaneous with me getting my license. So I had full days to do everything the real estate instructor said. So she would tell us to read a chapter, and then she'd go over the chapter when we got to class. I read the whole real estate book because I did what she told me to do, and that was we covered every chapter in the real estate book, and I would make flashcards and I would take practice tests and things like that because I had all day. So I recommend to folks who want to take the real estate exam or get into real estate, make sure that you carve out hours to really understand the material, because the subject matter has a lot of Latin, has a lot of legal terms, has a lot of definitions, and ultimately it's not teaching you how to do real estate. It's teaching you how to, like, what the laws are and how to pass the test so that you can practice real estate. So it's very important for anyone that's interested to give yourself the chance to actually be able to pass the tests by studying and carving out time.
Okay, that time period was definitely a transition for the two of us as we left that foreign service lifestyle and got back to like regular everyday. And we moved back to Durham, and you were studying for that test. Now, in the midst of you studying for the test and transitioning, we also were in the market for our first home at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just talk about that first home buying experience, because I think we both learned quite a bit from that whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to kind of lead by first saying that when you did make that choice to say, okay, done with the foreign service, like most times, I definitely was challenging that thought to say, are you sure this is what you want to do? Right? Because the lifestyle we had, etc. And I was like, are you sure you want to give this up? Right? Once that was thoroughly challenged and you were like, it, we are gone, this is not what I want to do, we figured out ultimately Durham was the best landing spot. When we moved back, I had the opportunity to at least have a job, but we both were starting from scratch. We lived with my mother for, what was that?
It's like
3 months?
No,
2 months
like,
or so? Yeah.
yeah.
We moved back